Starting from Amar of Nachman, Midley Huna. That is about 8 lines from the top. Okay, in Mishnah, we had a discussion about someone that was taken out of a city against his will, and he's put in an area that's surrounded by mechitzas. Got a machlikas from Gamliel and Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah that said the entire area is considered like 4 amas. Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Kiva said that no, he only has his actual 4 amas that he's in. And then in the Gemara we had a statement that if a person spends Shabbos in an open area, but in the middle of Shabbos, non-Jews made a fence around that area. And the question is now, can he carry in that area? So his limit to how far he can walk ends somewhere in the middle of that area. We got a statement from Reb Nachman in the name of Shmuel that he's allowed to carry in the whole area. He can't walk in the whole area, but he throws it. And Rav Huna said that no, you can only carry in 4 amas. You can't even go back. He can't carry any. Why? Because it's nifratz b'milui to a place that he's not allowed to carry. So yesterday we concluded that Rav Huna would say that if it ends in the middle of a chatzar, because those mechitzas were up before Shabbos, then he can carry over there. And today we say another statement that's similar to that. Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says, Meidli Huna. Huna would agree to me. Meidli Huna would agree. I guess he's a friend, he calls him Huna. Hey, Meidli above a calls him das el svasa tikra. Mutal tatal b'chalabayas. The case here is that he's actually outside the house. His tchum ended right outside the house. The wall of the house is entirely open, it collapsed or whatever. So the edge of the house, the roof of the house, shows him where he can't continue walking. So because we don't have a concern that he's going to end up being drawn after his item, which according to Rav Nachman you're allowed to throw. Rav Nachman says that Rav Huna would agree to me that I'm allowed to throw this as well. I'm allowed to throw an item into the house. And Rav Huna was concerned, Shemi Yimashech, he might be drawn after the item. So it's here the line of where you're allowed to go is so clear, even though there's no wall there. But nevertheless, you're allowed to walk. More than walk, you're allowed to throw it there. Especially in Rashi, exactly. Just to size. Okay. Now he explains my time. Chebetes means that it presses down. Because the roof of the house presses down and shows me where the limit is. And I don't have the concern that Rav Huna had yesterday that it'll be drawn after my item because there's a demarcation. Amar Rav Huna, brother of Nassim. Okay, in short, we have a machlekes Rav Nachman and Rav Huna. If there's a concern of going out of the tchum because you're allowed to throw something out of the tchum. So what's happening here is you walked from point A to point B. You can't walk any further. Happens to be point B is surrounded by a mechitza. Now, that mechitza came on Shabbos. There are items in that that's now in that enclosed area that could move around in that enclosed area. Are you allowed to move them to an area that you're not allowed to walk? So Rav Nachman says that you are allowed to. He doesn't make a gzeira. There's no problem. These items can move. You can throw them. And Rav Huna says, no, there's a problem. If you can throw them, you might end up going out of your tchum. Okay. Rav Huna, brother of Nassim, now comes along. He's a later Amira. He says, Ketanai. The machlekes from Nachman and Rav Huna is actually a machlekes Tanai. That's usually a problem. We usually don't like when it happens because we don't like that later Amirayim should be arguing about something that Tanaim already discussed, and they don't mention these Tanaim as their support. They're just coming in like new and saying this new thing. Really, this was an earlier discussion. They should have mentioned it. So it says Kitanai. It says Lema Kitanai, and it's a question. Okay. So in other words, the machlekes, will you be drawn after the item that you're moving out of your tum is a machlekes tanan. It goes like this. It's a quote from our Mishnah. If non-Jews bring him to a different city, and they put him into a pen or into other enclosure. Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Aimrim Mahalech Eskula. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah say you can walk the whole area. You're allowed to walk the whole area. You're out of your tchum. They have a leniency. They say you came there ba'inus. It wasn't your fault. And the area is enclosed. So that whole area is like your dalaram. They view it like as if someone would have spent Shabbos in that area, then that whole area would have been his dalaram. His tchum would have started out of that probably. That's how they view it because he came by him. He was brought there against his will. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, Aimrim, Inlay Alarbam. Rabbi Yeshua and Kiva say, in that enclosed area that you were brought to, you only have 4 amos to walk around. My love, is it not? The Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, the Amr Mahalach Eskula. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, they say that you're allowed to walk the whole area. The Lake Gazri Hilach Dirvasar, the Hilach Bika. Because it's an open area. Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah obviously do not compare an open area to the enclosed area. In an open area, it would be clear you only have 4 amos. In the enclosed area, Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah say you can walk the whole enclosure. You can walk around the whole enclosure, even though you're out of your time. You can still have the whole enclosure. Why? They don't make a gzeira that if we allow you to walk in the whole enclosure, you might end up walking in an open area as well. They don't have that gzeira. Now, umid hilach hilach legazri. You don't make a gzeira walking because of walking. In other words, walking in this area because of walking. You don't have that gzeira. So, filter hilach legazri. So they don't have the gzeira, an assumption. They don't have the gzeira of carrying because of walking either. What's the gzeira of carrying because of walking? That if I'm allowed to carry it there, I may end up walking. Carrying means throwing. If I can throw it out of my area, I might end up walking. So if they don't make a gzeira that I shouldn't be walking in a dir visar, which is an enclosure, because I'm not allowed to walk in a bika that's not enclosed, and I don't have that concern that if I allow it here, I might end up allowing it there. So I also don't have the concern that if I throw it, I might end up walking. Okay, there's a jump there, but that's what he's saying. It basically is saying that obviously Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah don't make gezeiros about walking. That's what he means to say. Walking out of the tunnel. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva, Daim remain layal arba'am. And Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Kiva, that's the opposite view. They say that in layal arba'am, even if the goyim put you in an enclosure on Shabbos, you only have 4 amos to walk around in there. To stay in the 4 amos. Why? Why did they say that? The Gazi hilach dir basat, the hilach bika, because there's a concern. If they allow you to walk more, maybe in an open area they'll allow you to walk as well. Or you'll take the leniency to walk as well. Over there I can walk, on the open area I'll also walk. Now umid the hilach gazri, and we see that Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva to make the zera of walking because of walking. In other words, one place you can't walk, in one place you could, but they make a gzeira that you shouldn't be allowed to walk in either of them. So they also say that you can't carry because you might end up walking. That is Rav Huna, Breder of Nassim's possible tanoim that are the source of the machlokes Rav Nachman and Rav Huna about carrying in an area that was enclosed on Shabbos. The Gemara says, "Mimai." There's a lot of assumptions here that you made. How do you know? Basically, how do you know that the reason that you gave for Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that permit it is the correct reason? And how do you know that the reason that you gave for Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Akiva that don't permit it is the correct reason? You had to make that up, and then you had to extend it to the case that you're dealing with. So this Dilma, perhaps, Kilei Gazer Rabbi Gamliel Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Hilach Der V'Sarat Hilach Bika. Why did they not make a decree that you shouldn't be allowed to walk in a deer in a sar? A deer in a sar. These are enclosures that are made for animals to fertilize fields. They would put the animals in this temporary enclosure, and then they would move it over, so it would get fertilized all over the area. So in the Sar, I think it's a similar enclosure, but in the city, a deer is in the field. Whatever it is, these are enclosures. Why didn't they make a decree that you shouldn't be allowed to walk in these enclosures because you're not allowed to walk in an open area? So it's Hanimili, the Hassam, Shnei Mekayim as well. It's two different places. So there's no connection. This is an enclosed area, and that's an open area. No connection. Shnei Mekayim. No, I understand. It could be one place because the deer in the Sar moves around. But the Gemara is not getting into that. The fact is this is enclosed, and this area is permitted, and that area is open, and it's not permitted. So I don't make a gzeira inside the enclosure, it's outside the enclosure. Aval tilt but when it comes to carrying, it's in the same enclosure. I'm not allowed to walk, but I'm allowed to carry. Maybe Ram Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah would say that in the same enclosure, that if I allow you to carry, you're going to end up walking. And that's the problem. The tchum ended already. You can't go past that limit. The items that we're laying there don't have the tchum restriction. It's not things that you brought from back there. Talking about you came over there and you found the football. And and it's enclosed. Or to make the case easier, it's not Shabbos, it's Yom Tov. And but then you carried it, and then you carried it. On Yom Tov, I would say you carried it from back there, and it would have a tchum. That wouldn't help. So these are items that you found in the new location, and there's no tchum restriction on it. And the whole restriction would be carrying dalaramas, but it's enclosed, so it's not a problem. We said that a mechitza asiyah b'Shabbos is shmei mechitza, so there's no problem with that. The problem is that you're out of the tchum. You're at the tchum limit, so you can't walk, but these items can keep moving. So Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that allow you to walk in that whole area if it wasn't closed before Shabbos. If it was enclosed before Shabbos, they allow you to walk. If it's enclosed on Shabbos, we're not discussing that. That's a confusion here. You see, there's a distinction here between the Mishnah's case and the case of Rav Nachman and Shmuel and Rav Huna. The Mishnah's case was a deer beside that was enclosed before Shabbos. They allow you to walk the whole area. The Rav Nachman and Rav Huna are arguing in the case that it was enclosed on Shabbos, not before Shabbos. And over there, everyone agrees that you can't walk the whole area. There's one version in Rashi that Ram Gamliel would allow you to walk the whole area in that case as well. Okay. Either way, what we just said now is that the suggestion of Rav Huna bar Nassan, Rav Huna Breder of Nassan, is not accepted. Because how do you know that the gezeira that Rabbi Gamliel and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah don't make tells me that they won't make the next gezeira that Rav Nachman doesn't make? Maybe they'll make the gezeira of Rav Huna that you'll be drawn after your item because it's in the same location. Now it goes further. Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Kiva Nami, and they that were strict over there. Rabbi Shua and Rabbi Kiva said that you're not allowed to walk in the Dir Basar. You have to stay within the 4 cubits. So we'll say, oh, sounds like they hold like Rav Huna, right? It says Mimai. How do you know that it has to do with the Gezerah? Mimai de Mishum de Gazrio. How do you know it's a Gezerah? Maybe it's because they simply don't hold that it's considered like 4 amas, a whole enclosure. When do we say that an enclosure is 4 amas, a house is considered 4 amas? That's if that was your location before Shabbos. That's what we said. If you rest in the city or in an enclosed area, so where does your tchum begin? Whatever. So it's from outside the enclosure. So if you're there before Shabbos, then it works. If you're not there before Shabbos, it doesn't work. It's not a gezerah. It's just that it's not considered the whole area could be considered your makom shvisa if you weren't there before Shabbos. But if it's not your location before Shabbos, so then it doesn't work. The Gemara is suggesting here is one more point to take this a drop further. And therefore, the fact that I'm not allowed to walk 4 amas, but more than 4 amas, tells me nothing about if I'm allowed to throw it. Maybe I'm not allowed to throw it. So that would mean that Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Kiva that are strict about walking would allow you to throw it. Exactly like the opposite opinion, exactly like Rav Nachman. In other words, you really have no support from these Tanaim to either Rav Nachman or Rav Huna. That's what the Gemara is saying. Okay. A new discussion. Sort of. Same ideas, but we go a little further. We rejected basically the suggestion of Rav Huna Breder of Nachman. Amar Rav. Rav says, Rav's the early Amira in Bavel, the Surah. Hilchas Akram Gamliel b'dir v'sar v'sfina. The Halachas Akram Gamliel. Halachas Akram Gamliel by a deer, a pen, a sar, which is another type of pen, and a sfina is in a boat. What are we referring to? That if someone is taken out of his tchum against his will, and he ends up in an enclosure, he's allowed to walk the whole area. That whole area becomes his location. Shmuel Amar. Shmuel argues on Rav, also an early Amira, Nardai. He says, in a boat, yes, but not in the Dir Basar. In the Dir Basar, in these pens, you were taken out of the tchum, you ended up in a pen, you can only walk 4 amas. But in a boat, you have the whole boat. What's the difference? The Gemara says, the Kuli Alma Mia Salach Akram Gamliel B'Sfina. Well, that's very interesting. Both Shmuel and Rav will agree that the halacha is Akram Gamliel B'Sfina. In a boat, you can walk the whole boat. If you end up on a boat and you're out of the tchum on Shabbos, you can walk the whole boat. Why? My time, what's the reason for this? Why does everyone agree to Rabbi Gamliel that you're allowed to walk the whole boat? Before Shabbos came in, you were on the boat. And if you settle in a place that's surrounded by walls, then that whole area, that whole enclosure is considered like your 4 cubits. Your whole house. That's your house. That's your makom shvisa. In other words, when you have an enclosure, so normally if you put an Eruv somewhere outside, so you have dalet amas. But if you have an enclosure, then the enclosure is your makom shvisa. If that was your location before Shabbos, the whole enclosure is good. That's the explanation for Rabbah. was on the boat before Shabbos. Deir Basar, he wasn't in the Deir Basar before Shabbos. That's the difference. Reb Zera Mahayel Svina Neitelas Mitchilas Arba Umanach B'Seif Arba. Reb Zera has another reason. There's three possible interpretations for what Reb Zera is saying in Rashi. But the interesting thing is that Rashi says, one of his interpretations that he accepts, he says, Zel Lashon Doidi Reb Shimon Yipi Arab. One of the slichas that we said, the authors of the slichas are basically the era of Rashi, the later Gaonim, and the Bali Tosfos. But one of them is from Reb Shimon, who's Rashi's uncle. It's Rashi's mother's brother. It's Reb Shimon. Anyway, here we have, he quotes that when a person lifts up his feet on the boat, before he puts his feet down, the boat has already moved him. So it's as if he was taken out by force. It's you and Nachrim. And if he's taken out by force against his will, so what does that mean?
Going on a boat is against your will?
Well, the movement of the boat, you were moved. It wasn't that you moved to that new location, because the boat is moving you along.
Oh, that's against your will.
Right. We're comparing it to Hitziu and Nachrim. That you were moved against, by Hitziu Nachrim, you were moved against your will. So over there...
Does it have to be against your will, or can it just simply be that someone moved you? I mean, you agreed to it, but someone lifted and moved you along. That's more like the boat. The boat, I mean, I am agreeing to be in the boat. I'm not moving it. Not necessarily against his will, especially if he went on the boat by himself.
Right. Interesting. The other pshatim are like really, one pshat is the boat is going one way and you're walking the other way on the boat. This is like
Rabbi Smith, is the case here that someone raises his foot and before he puts it down, the boat has moved 4 amos already? Because otherwise it seems there's nothing that it disproves unless it's already gone 4 amos.
Yeah, I don't understand this 100%. The boat was moving. I mean, when he raises his foot, these kids ask these questions, I guess, before they learn Newton's laws of motion. What happens if you jump on an airplane? It doesn't matter if he's moving, if the boat's moving and he lifts up his foot. I mean, basically he's moving along with the boat either way. The boat, he's in the same motion as the boat is, unless the boat turns while he's in the air. Okay, I think what the Gemara is saying is that he doesn't have a shvisa in a specific place because of the movement of the boat. And so therefore, you don't say that he has a specific 4 amos. Maybe he has the whole boat becomes his makom shvisa, something like that. Okay, it has to do with the movement of the boat, whatever the case is. That's what Reb Zera is. According to Rabbah, the reason why we pass on like Ram Gamliel is because the boat has a fence, has mechitzas. I don't know if it means the lower part of the boat, and that's considered a fence, or it means the deck has a fence. I'm not sure. But either way, there's mechitzas. My binai, what's the difference between the two explanations, Rabbah and Reb Zera? Pierre comments there. It could be now if it must mean that the deck has a fence. The Gemara says that the one of the differences would be is if the fence broke. According to Rabbah, then you're not in an enclosure anymore. You don't have the whole thing. According to Reb Zera, Yeah, always had the whole boat because of the motion of the boat. I didn't exactly explain what that does, but we know that that's what he told me. Inami b'kaifetz misvina l'svina. If you jumped over to the next boat. If you jumped over to the next boat. So according to Rabbah, you're not in the same enclosure. According to Reb Zera, you never had an issue because of the motion. Reb Zera, my time alayama karabba. The Gemara does it sometimes. It says, why didn't Reb Zera accept the obvious answer of Rabbah that the boat has mechitzas? And if you settled in a place of mechitzas, that works. Amalach, he would say to you, mechitzas lavriach mayim asuyas. Mechitzas on the boat are to keep the water out. Doesn't sound like the deck, fence on the deck. He says that that's for the outside, that's not for the inside. That's not mechitzas that are made for dira. Not so clear now. Not so clear. Which fences it's referring to. Rabbah, my time alayamar Reb Zera. Why doesn't Rabbah say like Reb Zera? What about the motion of the boat? Just 1 second. Let me tell you something. Okay, so why doesn't Rabbah say like Reb Zera that the motion of the boat should affect the shrisa and he should be allowed to carry on the boat just because of that? It's simple. But Malachas Kuli Amalei Pligi, Rabbah holds that there's no machlekes. Reb Zera is right about the motion of the boat. He's not talking about a boat that's moving. Reb Zera Rabbah has a chiddush. Ki pligi b'sha'amda. The machlekes is when the boat isn't moving. And nevertheless, Rabbah holds that the halach like Rabbi Gamliel, and you can still carry on the whole boat. Why? Because of the mechitzas. Reb Zera didn't accept the mechitzas. Rabbah accepts Reb Zera. Reb Zera doesn't accept Rabbah. So now we've just switched the machlekes according to Rabbah. Machlekes is not a boat in motion. Sorry? The machlekes is about a boat that's anchored. And are you allowed to walk the whole boat? Okay. Amr Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Masnisa Nami Dayaka. Nachman bar Yitzchak says, if you look carefully at the Mishnah, you'll see that the Mishnah is actually precise the way that Rabbah just explained it, that we're dealing with a boat that's anchored. The Malachas Leitligi, the Machlekes is not even about a boat in motion. Why? How do you know this? The Tani Meiser Shabbat Mi Paul Darson. It's a story that came from Paul and Darson. That was a place in Italy. Stein told us. Verdesium or something. They were coming from that place. And the boat got pushed out to sea. So Ram Gamliel Rabbi ben Azariah helped us kula. They walked the whole boat. And Rabbi Shuv Rabbi Akiva Leizazmi Arbamis Shrotz Lahachmar Latzman. Rabbi Shuv and Rabbi Akiva, they stayed in the place in their cabin. I don't know what the boats looked like. They stayed in their 4 amas. Okay. Notice the wording there. Why did they stay in the 4 amas? The wording was Shrotz Lahachmar Latzman. What do they really hold? What do they really hold? Are they allowed to or they're not allowed? If you say that they don't argue about a boat that's in motion, that you're always allowed to walk the entire boat if the boat is in motion, like Reb Zera said, that there's no shvisa over there and you can walk the whole boat is considered your location. That's what it says, that they didn't walk the whole boat, even though they're allowed to. They wanted to be machmir. Why? Because maybe the boat will stop. the boat will stop, then they hold that you're not allowed to walk. So Ratzah Lahachmer, because it might stop. If it's Malachas, it's not a problem. But they want to be Machmer, maybe it's going to stop. But if you say that they argue by a boat that's Malachas, and they hold that you're not allowed to walk more than 4 amos anyway, Ratzah Lahachmer, what does it mean? They want it to be Machmer. Isurahu, it's prohibited. It's a good proof. A good proof that the Machlekes is only by Yomda, the Machlekes is only by when it's anchored, not when it's in motion. And they just wanted to be strict themselves, even when it was in motion. Amar Avashi Masnisin Nami Deyakad, there's another proof. The Tani Sfina Dumi the Dir Basar. It says a boat together with the same, immediately right after, the Machlekes about a deer and a sar, which was an enclosure, a pen, enclosure for animals. Ma Dir Basar the Kriya Sfina Nami the Kri. Oh. Just like that case was when it was stationary, so too the boat is also stationary, it's anchored, and that's where the Machlekes is. Amalei Ravacha Brei the Rebbe Ravashi. Ravacha Brei the Rebbe said to Ravashi, Hilchos HaKrab Gamliel B'Sfina. The halacha is like Reb Gamliel by a boat. Hilchos HaMechlal the Pligi. That means if you tell me the halacha is like Reb Gamliel, that means there's really a Machlekes. Is there really a Machlekes? It says here's a Machlekes. V'hatanya, and it was started in a Brisa. Rashi tells us that this V'hatanya is b'nichusa. There's 2 types of V'hatanyas. There's 2 types of the word V'ha, really. Here it's V'hatanya. It's a compound word. V'hatanya. V'ha can mean but. And but it was taught in a Brisa. That means that 1 second, how could you say what you just said? That Rashi would then say bitmiya in the question form. But could also mean in this. And then Rashi tells us b'nichusa. And we say, and this is what was taught in a Brisa. The following is a proof of what we just said. It's not a question. But Tanya, it was taught in a Brisa. Chananya, he skipped the phrase over there. That entire day when they were on the boat, they were discussing what was going on. You see, Marcus Lehman wrote this book, Akiva. And in there, he takes stories from Mishnayos and Brises, and he creates conversations, of what they would have been talking about. It's based on other conversations. But here, this was where he added in a conversation about the discussion. He has, in that book, he has stories there on a boat and whatever. It's a, what's it called? Historical fiction or something like that. He tries to make it as accurate. So he says, no, Hananya is Rabbi Shua's nephew. We just take it out of the Girsa. But Hananya is the nephew, the brother of the son of Rabbi Shua's brother. He says that whole day they were discussing the halacha emesh, but in the evening, my father's brother decided halacha kram gamliel b'sfina, halacha Rabbi Akiva b'dir v'sar, that he's going to paskin like Rabbi Akiva by the boat, and he's going to paskin like Rabbi Akiva by a deer and a sar. So Rabbi Yeshua agrees to Rabbi Gamliel by the boat. I guess Rabbi Akiva himself was arguing. Now, what are we determining here? Is the machlekes when the boat is stationary, or are we determining that the machlekes is when the boat is in motion? Rashi over here says that the halacha v'ikram gamliel only by ma'alechas, only when it's in motion. But if it's stationary, then it becomes like a deer v'sar. We don't pass them like Rabbi Gamliel. I guess where I saw someone was saying that the fact that Rabbi Yeshua changed his mind does not establish a halacha either. if we have a machlokes and one of the opinions changes over to the other one, it's not a real proof that that the machlokes is like the one that he just switched to. If there are other opinions, I would get a third party that would come in and make a determination, that would be better than one of the people themselves, which is interesting. Kiboy Reb Chananya. Following Gemara, the famous Gemara, it's a tshuva from some sefer about this. Very interesting thing. Reb Chananya has a question. Rosh Hashanah only goes up till 10 tefachim. What happens above 10 tefachim? It becomes a makom p'tur. So normally, when we talk about tchumen, we're talking about that the person is walking in a Rosh Hashanah, and he has 2,000 amos. Let's say he's not walking in Rosh Hashanah. Let's say he's walking in a makom p'tur. How does the makom p'tur work? Do you still only have 2,000 amos in a makom p'tur, or is the makom p'tur some other zone where it doesn't work like that in the makom p'tur? So that's the shaila. Because we don't have a real source for this. So the Gemara explains the question. Let's say it was 10 tefachim high and it was 4 tefachim wide. You're walking along, I don't know, the wall of China. You're above 10 tefachim off the ground, but you're on basically a street, and so that's just the thick ground. That doesn't count, and you're still basically on the ground. Oh, very interesting. Now you're on a thin wall. You're walking on a thin wall, very uncomfortable place to walk. It's not a Rosh Hashanah. What's going to be over there? Inami, maybe you're flying. Rashi's example for this. He said a name of God that allows you to fly. He didn't have jetpacks. Something. So, okay, those are examples of how this is possible. It seems a little theoretical, but okay. There's another interpretation, another possibility that you're in a boat. And a boat is raised off the sea. I'm not sure if it means if it's raised above the water level, it's raised above the ground level. It must be it's raised above the ground level. A boat is raised above the ground, 10 tefachim. I think that's what it means. I'm not to say if you have a comment there in one of the whatever it is, it's raised above 10 tefachim off either the sea level or the ground level, and you're on a boat. Is there considered tchum? What's the din? Now we seem to have a raya from our Mishnah, but let's see. Amar Rav Aisha Tashma. Rav Aisha says, come in here. Our Mishnah. Ma'aser shebo min pal dasrin v'fligas finasim bayam chulu. Gemara doesn't even bother finishing the story. We know what happened over there. They ended up out of the tchum. They came to a port. That's going to be the next command. Okay, they ended up out of the tchum. Rabbi Gamliel is ready to carry on the whole boat, and Rabbi Yeshua is not. Rabbi Kiva is not. If you say that there's tchumen, that there's an issue, then they want it to be machmer. What are they being machmer about? There's no tchumen. They're above 10 tefachim. Gemara says, no, that was like a muddy area. The boat was very low to the ground. It's a different case. They were within 10 tefachim of the ground. Tashma, okay. We thought we had a proof. It wasn't a real proof. Come in here. They came to the port, the dock, and they didn't get there till after dark. They didn't know if they could get off. Ram Gamliel says it's not a problem because he saw that they were, when Bein Hashmashos was there, that they were within 2,000 amos. Maybe had a spyglass or something. He was able to see that they were within the 2,000 amos. If you accept that there's Tchum in the Ma'ila Ma'asara, then we get what the whole conversation was when Ram Gamliel said, don't worry about it, we were close enough to the port. Eliyamet ain't Tchumen, but if you say there's no such thing as Tchumen anyway, what's the difference how far away they were? There was no Shvisa. When Ben Hashmashis came in, they didn't have a location there's no Tchumen there. It's not like they were stopped in something. There's no above 10 tefachim. There's no tchumen. It's like no man's land. It's like no shvisa. So why can't they get off? They weren't kind of shvisa 2,000 amas away. There's no area over there. It's above 10 tefachim. Amarapa b'malachas bereket. Rava gives us. This is the original of Rava. So what was the issue? The issue was they were over there next to the dock. The ground was the water was very shallow. They were very close to the ground. Tashma, Hani Shab Shmaitza, the Saman B'Safra Shabbat the Kamei the Rav Chizda B'Sura, B'Hani Pani the Shabbat the Kamei the Rav B'Pum Pedisa should be Rabba B'Pum Pedisa. We had this in Gemara Chulin. There were 7 Shmaitzes, Shav Shmaitza. 7 Shmaitzes, that's also the name of a famous sefer, Shav Shmaitza, written by the Tzei Sacheshem. These are 7, in the Gemara, these are 7 halachas about Hilchas Treifas that were taught in Surah in the morning, and was taught in front of Rabbah in Pumbedisa in the afternoon. Now, Manam Rino, this is on Shabbos. Who said it? Who said over these halachas? Lav Eliyahu Rino. It must have been Eliyahu Navi. Well, how do you get from Surah to Pumbedisa? Surah is in the south of Iraq. Pumbedisa is in the north. How do you travel so far? It's out of the Tchum. Almein Tchum L'mayla Masara. Must be Eliyahu was able to get from one place to the other. Yeah, some ask in the Chivas, they have this thing with, how does Eliyahu get to all the brisson? It's another shaila. He has to travel above, must be he's traveling above 10 tefachim. On Shabbos, he goes from this to this. Or on Pesach, how does he get from house to house? So the answer to that, why the Gemara is not discussing that, is because over there he's not coming in a body. But the Gemara is asking a question from coming enclosed in a body. He takes on the limitations of the halachas. There must be, how do you teach in one base medrash in the morning and another base medrash in the afternoon, very far away? It must have been, it was above 10 tefachim, there's no tefachim. The Gemara says, Yosef Shidamrin, or no, it was this Yosef the demon. He doesn't keep Shabbos, and he was the one that brought the halachas over. Some learn that Yosef Shida had some sort of device that helped him fly. Instead of people that don't believe, don't accept the demon. I guess that would be like followers of the Rambam and that don't accept anything superstitious. Okay. Tashma, Harini Nazir, if someone says he takes a vow that he's going to be a Nazir b'yom sheben David ba, on the day that Mashiach comes. Very interesting. So mutalish design yayin b'Shabbat yom tov. He's allowed to drink wine on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. Also, this yayin kol yom esachol, but he's not allowed to drink wine on the weekdays. Okay, what's the issue over here with Shabbos? If you say that there's a problem of tchumen above 10 tefachim, that's why on Shabbos and Yom Tov it's mutter. Why? Mashiach can't come because he's going to come from. There's going to be a problem of tchumen. He's stuck. But if you say there's no issue of tchumen, so he can come on Shabbos. There's no prohibition. He says, no. Shani Hasam da Makra Hini Anechi Shleach Lachem Es Eliyahu Navi Lefnei Ba Yom Hashem. Elio had to come yesterday. Gemara gives us an answer. He didn't come on, Elio didn't tell us anything on Friday. So you know he's not coming today on Shabbos. Gemara says, 1 second. First of all, Elio didn't come on Friday. That doesn't answer the question. So then, on Sunday he didn't come on Shabbos. On Monday he didn't come on Sunday. Tuesday he didn't come on Monday. Then every day you should be allowed to. He didn't come. Elio didn't come yesterday. Elio didn't come yesterday. Why can't I drink wine every day? I'll stop when I hear Elio was here. Ella, Amina the best in a gadol. Every day, I'm not sure. Maybe he came to the best in a gadol. I didn't get the. I didn't get the memo. I didn't get the. I didn't get the news. So every day I have to be concerned. So maybe he came on Shabbos to the best or on Friday to the best in a gadol. How are you allowed to drink on Shabbos? Says no. No. There's a problem. Elio Hanavi doesn't want to interfere with the women preparing for Shabbos or the men preparing for Shabbos. Everyone's going to drop all the preparations. Unbelievable thing. Doesn't want to. It shows you the value of a halacha. Elio Hanavi would put an end to everything, all the problems of the world, but he doesn't want to interfere with the chicken soup. The minutes to have chalent or something. Unbelievable. Okay. Kasal Kadaita we're understanding like this, we think that if Elio Hanavi doesn't come on Erev Shabbos, Mashiach also doesn't come on Erev Shabbos. So B'mali Shabbat Al-Ishtri. So why can't he drink wine on Erev Shabbos? We'll gain another day for this person to drink wine. He took a vow he's not going to drink wine the day Mashiach comes. So he's not coming on Mashiach's not coming on Shabbos because Elio doesn't come on Friday. Nothing to do with Chumash. But he's not coming on Friday either. It's going to interrupt the preparation. So it says Elio layasi Mashiach asi. It's not a problem. Mashiach actually could come on Friday. Elio doesn't come on Friday because when Mashiach comes, the Kivan Da'asi Mashiach Akol Avadim Yisrael. We'll have other people that will be setting up the soup. Everyone will be servants. We'll be cleaning ladies and everything. It'll be a different world. It'll be so easy. So Mashiach can come on Friday. Elio doesn't come on Friday because we'll still have all the preparations and we'll just be excited and it'll be a distraction. What about Sunday? Mashiach doesn't come on Shabbos, or Elio Hanavi doesn't come on Shabbos. That's what we're asking. Elio Hanavi doesn't come on Shabbos, so on Sunday you should be allowed to drink wine because Elio Hanavi has to come the day before Mashiach. L'fnei b'yom Hashem. So l'sheminei dein tchumen. It must be that there's no problem of tchumen. The yesh tchumen b'chad b'shabbat l'ishtri. The le'asalio b'shabbat. It must be that Elio Hanavi could come on Shabbos. If there was a problem of tchumen, then he should be allowed to drink wine on Sunday. Gemara says, well, we don't really know. We don't really know if there is tchumen or not tchumen above 10. So he said, just in case, it should be machmir. Could be Elio Hanavi could come. But you also have to be strict that there is tchumen. It could be there isn't tchumen and Elio Hanavi could come, so therefore on Sunday don't drink wine. When is he standing, the kanadar that he took the nether? We're re-examining now this whole discussion. If the fellow that took the nether is in the middle of a weekday, Took it on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. He said, I'm not going to drink wine when Mashiach comes. Even the Challah and Naziris. So if he has to keep the Naziris, how does it go off? Just because it's Shabbos, it goes off. He had to keep it before. It must be that he took the vow on Shabbos and on Yom Tov. And it's only that original day that he's allowed. But the following Shabbos is already prohibited, because once the neder takes effect, it's interesting, because what does it mean it took effect? So it's all taking effect because we don't know. It's not like really taking effect, but the Gemara is viewing it like as if it's taking effect. It's chalala. He already has to keep it. And once he has to keep it, he has to continue keeping it. So it turns out that even on Shabbos he can't drink wine because it took effect on the weekday. He can't drink wine later as well. Let's leave it over here. Shkaya. Shab Mashiach.